you see these signs, you better look up. When you see these signs, you better look up. Yeah, I've been walking through the fire, clothes smell like doubt. Seen the waves over my head, and still I never drown. Mama praying in the kitchen, tears on the tile. Say the world getting darker, but that's been for a while. Scroll full of rumors, every headline was. Everybody got a platform, nobody sure. I've been hearing in my spirit, boy, your time close. Got my eyes past the clouds, I don't ride low. Used to chase change, now I chase change. Used to pop pain, now I drop shame. I was stuck, I was broke in my own mind. Then he said, watch close when I show signs.
When you see these signs, look up.
Your redemption's getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky.
Don't fall,
Yeah, we made for the storm.
stand bold. When you see these signs, look up.
Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt, no fear. When you see these signs, know your redemption here. Yeah, I remember late nights, eyes red, no sleep. Heart heavy like the rent, pain 7 feet deep. Homies lost on the corner, stuck in the loop. I was one bad choice from the same root. Then I heard that still voice in the backlash. Son, I paid that price, that's past tense. Every time I slip, Grace said stand up. Every time I trip, he still manned up. See the storms getting closer, I don't panic though, cause the hands on my life set the tempo. Prophecies playing out, I ain't surprised. I just tighten up my walk, keep my lamp high.
When you see these signs, look up.
Your redemption getting near.
Don't run,
Keep your head to the sky.
don't fall,
Yeah, we made for the storm.
stand bold. When you see these signs, look up.
Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt, no fear. When you see these signs, know your redemption here. I've been down bad, he was still that close. I was off track, he was still that road. I was lost, but I never left his sight. Every sign's just a signal in the night. Hands up high when the sky turn red. Even if I'm hanging on by a thread, I know who gon' catch me if I drop. So when I see the signs, I look up, not to stop.
These signs, look up.
Your redemption's getting near.
Don't run,
Keep your head to the sky.
don't fall,
Yeah, we made for the storm.
stand bold. When you see these signs, look up.
Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt,
No fear,
when you see these signs. Know your redemption here. Redemption here.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hopefully you are enjoying your Shabbat, or if you are enjoying your Shabbat or observing Passover this week, first fruit, Feast of Unleavened Bread. There's going to be some gatherings for sure this weekend. A big shout out to Bishop Brown with Boone Church, the Boone Church family, and all the other families that are out there, all the other Israelite families that are out there that are celebrating the days of the Most High, the feast days that He's called out. These are His days, because I have to say that, family, because I can't tell you how many times we've heard people say, "Oh, these are the days of the Jews," or these are the days that of course they say the Jewish people, but it's really the Israelite days is what people will allude to. But no, family, these are the Most High's days. These are the days that He has called out. These are the days that He's ordained. These are the days of visitation. When we look back across the spans of history, as far as when major events occur, especially with us here, us that are part of the diaspora, the so-called Negroes, a lot of our major dates are tied to the Most High's feast days, believe it or not. We called out before that, hey, did you know that when, of course, when Spain expelled the Israelites in 1492, that occurred on a day called the 9th of Av. That also occurred, like the actual edict that, the edict that was issued on a feast day. Or when Jerusalem was getting ready to be sacked by Vespasian or Titus, the Roman army presented itself on the hill before Jerusalem on the feast day. The signing of the transatlantic slave trade, it was issued on a feast day. Like I'm telling you, family, like these things that are tied to major events, even in the so-called African American community here over in the States. When I want to say when Black Wall Street occurred, it occurred on a feast day. Yes, family. And all these things that happened, family, that we had no idea that this was tied to, the Most High's days, the days of visitation, right? And especially when you talk about Passover. Now, Passover, of course, we all know about the story of Passover. Our brothers and sisters, our forefathers over in Egypt, and they had to put the blood on the doorposts and judgment passed over. And unfortunately, when Rome presented itself before Jerusalem, as I said before, that blood was not on the doorposts, and that judgment visited our people with a vengeance. And probably a third of our people were slayed by the sword, a third of our people were burned in the fire, and a third of our people went into captivity and were sent, into all the different nations of the earth. Now, this is in fulfillment of the prophecy that Hamashiach, that the Messiah, gave to our people in Israel in Jerusalem, right? Gave to our people in Jerusalem that they would be scattered to the four corners of the earth. And this is one of the things I tell people is that there is only one people on planet Earth that has been scattered to the four corners of the earth. And that is the so-called Negroes. Now, what I'm going to do here, family, and actually, let me see if I can pull up my screen here, because what we're going to do here, and I apologize for this, the tardiness of this live, because I did have to postpone this live multiple times. So finally, I'm just glad we're able to finally get back around to this one. And this has to do with the prophecies of Daniel. We talked a little bit about when we talked about Daniel, the second chapter of Daniel, and we looked at the statue of Daniel that, the Nebuchadnezzar, he had his dream. And actually, let me see if I can pull this up, because I know I'm just talking. But while I do that, shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's online. And actually, you know what? I probably need to bring up that old slide. Actually, now that I think about it, let me do that first. So I'm going to do that here. I think I have it saved. Let's do slides. Yeah, let me see if I have that here. Let's see if we have that here. I may not have it online. All right, so I will work on bringing that up, because basically what I wanted to do, family, is I just wanted to show you the slides that we went over last time. And let me do share screen. And it's not always a challenge, but sometimes it's a challenge with this PowerPoint slide, trying to figure out which one is your presentation. Let's see, PowerPoint slideshow. Here we go. All right, so let me share this screen. And I'm just going to make sure that it is showing properly on the screen. So it looks like it is. All right. So this is what we're going to talk about today is Daniel 7. And Daniel 7. And I'm also going to pull up another slide deck as well. And this is the slide deck from Daniel, the second chapter. So bear with me just for a second, fam. I'm just going to get these slides in order, because I think it does us good to just do a little bit of recap before we get started with Daniel 7, because there were some good things that we talked about when we talked about Daniel, the second chapter of Daniel, because we talked about the statue. So I'm going to pull that up here. Let's see, land of votes, Iran. Let's see, crowns of Israel. All right, let's see here. Yeah, just bear with me just for a second, fam. I just want to pull up the old slide that we had here. And in fact, I'm just going to stop sharing this screen here. While we do that, I tell you what, while I pull that up, I'm going to bring you up to speed on what's going on here in the States, or actually over in Israel. And let's do that, because that'll give me time to pull this slide up. So I'm going to pull this presentation back up and advance one slide. Let's do that. All right. And so I had in here Lego Wars update. Lego Wars update. So if you know, of course, we know that the Iranians are using the Legos and videos and stuff like that to put out their propaganda as far as what their interpretation of the war and stuff like that. And, you know, people can, you might look at it and say, man, that's brilliant, because who would have thought that out of all the different things that Iran could have used for their propaganda, that they chose Legos. And they had to have thought about this through and through, because, you know, family, because, I mean, of course, Legos are popular. It's one of those popular things, and it's one of those things that it reaches across like all denominations, all age groups. People can relate to them. I mean, of course, when you're on social media, you see both the old and the young folks that are reposting these Lego videos. And so Iran is getting busy with these Lego videos. And let me tell you something, family. And of course, they hadn't stopped. But I will say that these last couple of Lego videos, or at least I'll say one of these last Lego videos that have come out, is questionable as to whether or not it's from Iran. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And I guess the reason why I say that is because it has language in it. It has like kind of, you know, it has bad language in it, especially during the front part of it. And I'm gonna see if I can mute it during the time, because a lot of times before, for those bad, those videos that have bad language in it, I try to censor out or censor beep as much out as I can. But I didn't get a chance to get, to censor out this one. So I'm going to see if I can do it on the fly. So I apologize in advance, but it's just at the very beginning of the video, there's a couple of spots in there where, they use some strong language. And of course, for those that are under 18 that's on the live, just going to have to tell you to kind of turn your volume down or walk away or something like that, because we are going to play at least one video that has some bad language on it. So I just want to warn our brothers and sisters that are out there, so that if you are playing this in an assembly, be forewarned, might want to turn that volume down. All right. Just don't want to surprise you. Just want to surprise you. All right. So Iran is still, it looks as though they're still doing their Lego propaganda, their Lego Wars commercials and stuff like that. And of course, they're using it to poke fun at Trump. So Trump gets on social media, of course, he's always kind of dropping stuff on X. And of course, people are saying like, man, that's unpresidential. He's acting like somebody that's not, of course, when they picture somebody being presidential, they're all proper and stuff like that. They're not really social media gurus, but of course, Trump's using social media, and that's how he, basically, I guess you can argue that that's how he got into office, using social media the way he's done it. But it's a double-edged sword, because of course, if you're going to do it, then of course your opponent can do it. And so Iran is using social media, and they are coming out with stuff like this. I'm going to pull this up again. I'm going to try to get this volume down when it gets to the point or the part where it talks about certain things. But check this out, family. So this is what we're going to see here. I'm just going to bring it to the stage. All right. So this is the latest video that is out. Again, it's questionable whether or not it's from Iran. The only reason why I say that is because it doesn't have the watermark that the previous videos had on it. And this video is a little bit more raw as far as like the speech on it. And again, I got to point this out. Why are they using rap? They're using rap as far as like the delivery of the message. And it has that Israelite feel to it, the real Israelite feel to it as they're delivering. But, just gotta kind of wonder, like, out of all the different languages they could have done it in, why not do it in like a Middle Eastern language? Why not do it in a country language, or, the country music, that sort of thing? Why they got to use rap? What I'm saying? I'm just kind of putting that out there. They're kind of like leaning towards the black community when they're putting this stuff out. All right, so let's go ahead and play it. Like I said, I'm going to try to adjust the volume here at the very beginning to see if I can, if I can catch the bad language. So I'm apologizing in advance. So here we go. Let's check this out, family. Now that was a little different. I'm just saying that one was a little different. That one hit differently than the other ones. You know, I don't know if it was a different crew that did it. I don't know if it was somebody else on the other team that did it that's trying to make it seem like it's them. Yeah, somebody said, nah, that ain't them. That's what I'm saying. Like it just felt, that one just felt different. You know what I'm saying? That one seemed a little personal. It may have been the Democrats, somebody from the Democrats that might have done that one. I'm just saying. So, but you know, they still you can start to see these Lego videos. They're out there. And, you know, of course, that's not the only one. This is another one that's out there. Yeah, and the thing about this one too, family, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what's happened today, like the current news today. But so after Trump gave his speech, you know, he gave that speech on, actually, got ESPN alerts coming across my phone. But after Trump gave his speech on, you know, of course, depending on what day you observe Passover, but it was, you know, arguably it was during the feast days. So he gives this big speech, and of course he lies through his teeth, was what people were saying from start to finish, boasting that, you know, we did all this, we did that, we knocked out all their missiles, they don't have no missiles left. You know, basically the lion has no teeth, right? So immediately after Trump gives that statement, Iran that night, you know, literally minutes after the speech, starts bombing like crazy Israel, all these other different Arab, you know, places over in the Middle East, just to let them know it's like, no, we still got our missiles. We still here. Basically, they saying we still here. And so then after Iran, you know, put those missiles out. So then fast forward to today, then the US, I guess they're doing some sort of counteroffensive. And as they're doing this counteroffensive, it seems as though they're flying planes over Iran. And so just today, Iran knocked down not one, not two, but at least 5 planes/helicopters. And because, of course, I think on mainstream media, at least for right now, they're at least acknowledging 2. But what they're saying is that it is actually 5. So Iran knocked down 5 planes/helicopters. The reason why I'm saying it like that is because I think it's like 4 planes and 1 helicopter. So in any case, it's getting serious. And of course, you know, they're trying to retrieve some of these pilots. I think one of the pilots in one of the planes was retrieved. The other pilot that was also in the same plane, you know, he's still missing in action. Things like that, family, is crazy. And then also today, there was an emergency meeting, you know, at in the White House, something like that, where they are trying to they're discussing something major. It's supposed to be something major. So that's another thing that's people are watching. So again, we are in these last days, family. Things are starting to get serious. But these Lego videos keep dropping. And what they're trying to do, I guess what people are saying, that they're trying to deliver a message as to what's really going on over in Iran. And I don't want to say it's funny, but it's interesting because, of course, it seems like the U.S. and maybe Israel are still trying to, strike some targets over in Iran. And then, because I guess it was today where Trump or the U.S. struck a bridge over in Iran. You may have heard that on mainstream media. And of course, Trump then turns around and drops a social media post about it. So he's bragging about it. He's like, oh, yeah, we gonna bomb you to the Stone Age, stuff like that. Right. So, of course, Ron is like, you set the precedence. So now we going to start knocking out bridges. so that's what I'm saying, family. It's like, why would you do stuff where that the other party can do it back? It's almost as if they keep forgetting that they're dealing with somebody that can respond in kind. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and this is why you also had, Amazon, that like the Amazon data center knocked out. You also had, I want to say Microsoft, Apple, like all these different data center / buildings, they're being targeted by Iran because if you ever heard of Palantir, so a Palantir is the AI that both the U.S. and Israel use for targeting, targeting all these different schools and stuff like that. If you're trying to figure out like, oh man, how could somebody just be so cold to target a school, target a hospital? What's coming up with the targeting? This targeting data, it's AI. This is Skynet 2.0. Devoid of feelings, devoid of any righteousness or any, belief in the Most High. It is AI that they're leaning on to do this. And I guess the question has to be, what's behind the AI? People, of course, are saying like this AI stuff has wicked undertones to it, right? Because at the end of the day, AI has to be trained off of something. And whether it be some wicked evil stuff that's at the core of its CPUs, who knows? But the feeling is that this AI is like some wicked evil stuff. But the US is using this AI to go to do all of this targeting. And that's why they're saying that we're seeing like these targets that they haven't traditionally done or made in the past. Schools, hospitals, places where the public are gathering, that sort of thing. So that's why it's a little bit different. So what Iran is doing is that they're hitting the infrastructure that's associated with the AI. They're hitting the companies that are backing this AI. That's why you see them hitting Apple. That's why you see them hitting Amazon. And of course, Amazon, their infrastructure, they have these things called availability zones. Availability zone is basically this region, this area where they have multiple data centers at, right? And basically they have redundancy. So if Iran hits one data center, they can kind of shift that data, that information over to another data center. So don't be surprised if you see Iran start going around and start hitting multiple data centers just to make sure that they get all the information that's dispersed over in the area to make sure that they get rid of the AI that's over in that area. So anyway, I know it's a long start to this lesson, but just to let you know, family, that like Iran's not playing around, family. Like for them to start hitting these corporate entities, these corporate infrastructure that's over there, that's showing some high level information gathering that they have. And this is I'm telling you, family, you're going to start seeing this somehow, some way start impacting us over here in the States because one, as a African American person, whether you be over here in the States, primarily over and abroad, but if you're using social media, if you've noticed, of course, you've noticed things like shadow banning, you've noticed things like censorship, throttling. You've noticed all this stuff. All this stuff, and it has to be controlled from somewhere. And I remember I was joking with Pastor Kelly. Shout out to Pastor Kelly. But we were joking about this, and that is when this first, I don't know if you remember or not, but when the first war started, I want to say we'll call it the 12-day war started, and Iran started doing the same thing. They started bombing certain buildings over in Israel, right? And immediately when they started doing that, all of a sudden there was a release of the censorship that we saw over here in the States. This is one of those things that I noticed, and I was like, man, it's like all of a sudden my views are going up. Right. And it was funny because Iran, I think one of the buildings that they hit was one of those buildings that was tied. It was literally tied to the censorship that was on platforms like X, like YouTube, like Instagram. Right. And then all of a sudden when they hit that building, all of a sudden the censorship was released. So I'm just saying, family, just don't be surprised if during the course of this back and forth between Iran and the US and all that stuff that's happening over in the Middle East, if all of a sudden you just start to notice some changes in censorship over here, whether you're in the US or abroad, but just on these social media platforms, I believe that this is what you're going to start to see next. All right. So with that being said, let me see. I think I got a couple of more video clips of Legos. Hang on. Let's just play these before we get started. Hang on.
I'm going to talk to the Ayatollah now to resolve the Strait of Hormuz issue.
What's the price of oil?
Dad, please be patient a little longer. Can you open the Strait of Hormuz? Who are you even? I have the biggest military on earth. Whatever you say, Mr. Trump, the strait is all yours. Beat it, because I've already talked to Iran and the strait will be open shortly. Thanks, everyone. We are the best. Everybody knows this.
Hey, Taram, you are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam al-Anbiya.
They came to the border, 2 against 1, talking about peace with the sound of guns. They pushed him back, they thought it was done, walked away thinking they already won. He stood back up, walked to the water, not as a soldier, not as a bomber. He looked at the world and closed the gate. Now every country has to wait. Ships in line where nations wait. Energy crisis, high inflation rate. Europe nervous, Middle East stuck. Asia silent, America out of luck. Then one man skipped the line. Didn't argue, didn't fight. Why you argue? I make deals. Trade routes open, business sealed. And far away from all the fight. Someone sleeping every night. Oil going up, money pile high. He just smiled, didn't even try. Some fight wars, some control trade. Some build deals, but some life fade.
Yeah, I believe that was one of the older ones, but still, you get the point, family. They're using Legos like crazy. And hey, it's effective. You got to say it's effective, because one of the things that they're noticing that especially on X, a lot of these Lego videos are getting lots and lots of views. And that's just speaking to how effective this messaging is from Iran. All right, so I'm going to see if I can shift screens a little bit. So just bear with me just for a minute, because I actually have 2 PowerPoint slides. Just want to see if I can pull up the old one, though. Hang on one second here. Yeah. So just want to show this with you, or share this with you, family. So this is just a PowerPoint slide from what we were talking about last time. So remember, we are just trying to talk about Daniel, prophecy, trying to figure out who's who, because that's the main thing that people are noticing. A lot of people are noticing that there's something going on. They know that it's something end time related. This is stretching across whether you're Israelite, whether you're Muslim, whether you're a Christian, even some people that are non, they're atheists, right? They don't even believe in the Most High. They just know that there's something end time related that's occurring. And that's another thing that I kind of want to touch on. I was actually trying to find some of that material today, and that's part of the reason why I'm a little disjointed here as far as the presentation. But one of the things I was trying to find was there was even a prophecy that was related to the pyramids, like the whole laying out of the pyramids, the positioning of the pyramids, how there were 3 pyramids, was the pyramids of Giza, I believe that's the term, the name of it. And about how they were laid out according to the stars on Orion's belt, and how the Sphinx and the way it was facing, and the degree. I mean, just kind of a bunch of stuff about how it lined up with Regulus, and that it was a time clock. I mean, this is all stuff that I came across probably maybe 10 years ago, something like that. But needless to say, but even 10 years ago, it was pointing to this time here. It seemed so far off back then, but now we're here, and people were pointing back to say, "Hey, you guys remember that stuff they were talking about the Egyptians' time clock and stuff like that, and about how at the time when they felt as though all that pyramids were created, that the how did I put it, that it aligned with the constellation of Leo. It was all about the Lion of Judah. I'm just saying, family. It's just all this kind of stuff. It points or leads people to think that the time that we're in, that something is different about it. There's a end time feel to it, and so of course people are trying to figure out. It's like, all right, so who's who? All right, are we in the are we in the Persians and the Medes, or are we in, they're trying to figure out like what book in the Bible, what book in the scriptures are we? I mean, can I find out where we are, right? And of course, I've been putting out there that, hey, look, Iran is Iran. We know who Iran is. They're the people of Persia, and of course, when you're talking about the people of Persia, of course, there were migrations, there were infiltrations, there were conquests. There were the Arabs that came across. There were changing of colors as far as like the skin color and stuff like that that occurred over in the Middle East. And that's another thing I think that a lot of us, including me, that there's a lot of history over in the Middle East that we have to get caught up on to understand where people went. What do they do, right? Why did these reliefs, these stone depictions of the people over in the area at the time, why did they transition from a dark-skinned melanated people to a light-skinned melanated people? Why did that occur? Oh, wait a minute. Well, that's associated with the Arab invasion, or these people that came across. Oh, that's also associated with the DNA infiltration from the Caucasus Mountains, because there was a lady by the name of Nell Painter. She was I want to say she's either a Princeton professor or a Harvard professor, but either way, one of the top learning institutions in the U.S. She created a book. It was called "From Whence the White People Come From," or "From Whence the Caucasians Come From." One of those two. Just look up Nell Painter, and you'll find the book that I'm talking about. And in that book, what she states is that there was a slave trade called the Black Sea slave trade. And this was one of those slave trades or events that led to the propagation of white skin, the propagation of what I call that BNC2 skin mutation. So at the end of the day, family, we know per science that it's the BNC2 skin mutation, which causes skin to go from dark brown melanated skin to that's the pale white skin. And we also know that it is not tied to a people. I just want to make sure we know that, family, that it is not tied to a people. In other words, let's take, for instance, if you take an African American, or if you even take an African, a dark-skinned Hamite, dark-skinned Shemite, and that person then mixes with someone that has this BNC2 gene. That, in other words, they're mixing with somebody that's white skin or light skin or pale skin, and they have this BNC2 gene. If they have intercourse, they have a child, that child will then therefore be either light skinned or they can even come out white. And it's because of the expression of the BNC2 gene. And still, the children would still be of the tribe of Judah. Like, in other words, if the father was of the tribe of Judah, then the children would be of the tribe of Judah, of course, but they would not have the dark brown melanated skin because they would have that light skin BNC2 gene. So in other words, fam, I guess the point I'm just trying to make is that, we have a tendency of associating light skin, white skin with a people, which of course we do know that there's a people that have a preference for it. So I guess we can call it like a natural selection for it. They have a natural selection for it. So of course that's the prevailing skin phenotype that you see, in that particular culture. But I guess the point that I'm making is that skin mutation can go to anybody. Anybody can get it. It can go over to the black community, and the black community will turn white. We saw this over in Brazil. Over in Brazil, they had this lightening initiative where they wanted people to be light skinned. So they encourage the mixing of the race. They encourage people to mix with the light pale skinned people to mix with the black skinned people to produce a lighter skinned people, to erase the dark skin. Like that's what they did. So anyway, I know we're getting off topic, but just want to let you know, family, that this transition that we see over in the Middle East, it occurred partly because of what Nell Painter outlines in her book about from whence the white people came from, which is the Black Sea slave trade, which whose the receivers of these white slaves came from the Caucasus Mountains, and they were pushed out to these people of the Middle East. That's part of the reason why the Middle East changed from a dark-skinned melanated people to a lighter people that you see today. All right. So anyway, a lot of prelude, a lot of prologue, but just wanted to put that out there. All right. So let's get back to it, family. So just what you see on your screen is the Persians and the Medes. So this is what we talked about last time. So in Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and this is, of course, Nebuchadnezzar, he has the dream, right? And Daniel has to break down the dream, and he tells them, you dreamt this statue, and the statue had a head of gold, and you can see it there on your screen, and that is the Babylonian representative of the Babylonian Empire. Of course, this says breast and arms of silver. That's the the Persian Empire, and then the Greco Empire is the belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron. That represents the Roman Empire, right? We talked about that. It says and the dragon. We'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, the feet are a mixture of the iron, right? So I said, hopefully I didn't. Yeah, I think I said legs of brass, was legs of iron. But the toes, the feet are a mixture of the Roman Empire. Basically, that's what it is. It's the Roman Empire divided up into those 10 toes. And so this is where we left off the last time. And we could see that. So this is the progression of prophecy. The progression of prophecy goes from the head all the way down to the toes. And then, of course, if you keep on reading in Daniel chapter 2, what you'll see is that the cut rock that represents, the Messiah, Hamashiach, which comes down and literally smashes the toes. It didn't say he smashes the arms. It didn't say he smashes the waist or the legs. It said he smashes the feet. In other words, he's going to come down during a time where the Roman Empire is divided into those 10 toes. And he's going to smash the toes. And then what's going to happen is that eventually the whole statue gets obliterated, right? So just think about that, family. If we just take this representation of Daniel, just chapter 2 by itself, this alone tells us that when Hamashiach, when the Messiah comes back, he's going to war against Europe. He's going to war against the vestiges of Rome. It doesn't say Africa, right? Doesn't say Australia, but he's going to come down and destroy the 10 toes. And eventually, of course, the rest of those other empires. But I just want to kind of point that out because this, at least for me, fam, I'm telling you, when I got a hold of that, I was like, man, that's saying something, especially when you think about how this personification of how of course, you got the Pope, you got the Holy Roman Empire. They try to portray themselves as the representation of righteousness, and of course, anything black is depicted or portrayed as evil or wicked. Angel food cake's white, was a devil cake is black, stuff like that, But anyway, that's how they do it, family. But let's come out of this real quick, family. And now that we have just touched a little bit on that, let me see if I can stop sharing that. And I'm going to pull up another slide. Now, also, what I also want to show you too is how all this stuff that we've talked about so far, whether you're talking about the Lakesh relief, and we're talking about how, Sennacherib and Hezekiah, we're talking about, Israel going into captivity, during the time of Assyria, and how I just want to show you how all this interrelates, because sometimes when we're in certain scriptures, we don't realize the time frame that we're in. All right, so I'm going to see if I can pull back up my slide here. So I got my other slides. So thank you for hanging in there with me, family. So let's do. Let's see. Since we are talking about Persians and the Medes, Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Let me share. I'm going to share a. Okay, here we go. Just want to pull up a web browser instead. All right, so I got Isaiah pulled up. And so we're going to do Isaiah. There we go. All right. And just to point some things out. So when we're talking about the Persian Empire, this is what we're talking about. So, of course, we're talking about Iran, and the Persian Empire. And I think one of the things, we don't necessarily do a good job of, family, is just showing you the proof of the Bible. Because a lot of times when we're going through these prophecies and reading these scripts and these books and these chapters, I know I haven't taken the time to pause and just show you the evidence that's associated with it. So, in other words, like when we're talking about Lachish, when we're talking about Persia, let me show you some of the evidence that's associated with it. In other words, because you know how people will say things like, oh man, the Bible's not real, and that's just somebody just writing stuff in the book, or they were just making stuff up, right? But the thing is, family, when these events occurred, they actually do have archaeological evidence to go along with it. For example, of course, we were talking about the Lachish relief before, and the Lachish relief, which deals with, actually, let me pull the Lachish relief up here. So the Lachish relief is the southern kingdom going into captivity by the king of Assyria. All right. So this is before the Medo-Persian Empire rises up. The Most High uses the Medo-Persian Empire. He used them twice to come and save Israel after they went into captivity. So this is Israel going into captivity under the king of Assyria. This is King Sennacherib coming to take the king of Judah, or the people of Judah, into captivity. And then, of course, after that, the Most High is going to take his world beater belt, which is what I call the Persians and the Medes. He's going to take them to then beat down and destroy whoever took them into captivity. In this case, is the Assyrian Empire. He's going to use the Persians and the Medes to take down the Assyrian Empire. So when you look at it on a timeline, so we're just before, the Most High is reaching into his closet to pull out that world beater belt, the Persians and the Medes. Just before he's reaching in there, this is where this takes place. This is where the Assyrian Empire, they're taking in the children of Judah. Now, I've brought people here to this website before, and what we're looking at, you can see it on your screen. This is the British Museum. Right, it says the British Museum, and this is the Lachish relief. So after King Sennacherib comes down into the territory of Judah, he's laying waste. Along the way, he lays waste to at least 40 cities of the house of Judah, of the territory of Judah. He laid waste to at least 40 of them. And when he's getting ready to come against Jerusalem, but before he comes to Jerusalem, he stops off at the fortified city of Lachish. And of course, he lays waste to it. He destroys it. He unalives a lot of the children, the tribe of Judah, because that was a city that was literally inside the territory of Judah. So these were people called Judahites, right? But these were the Judeans, the tribe of Judah. And he unalives a lot of them. He takes some of them into captivity. And then, of course, when he gets back to his palace, he then creates this palace. He then creates this room or this relief where he depicts everything that occurred in Lachish, right? And so what you're looking at here on the screen is that you're looking at pictures of this relief, which is now housed in the British Museum. Now, it's funny because I would always bring people here because I always, I say that this is probably one of the easiest ways to show people that Israel is a dark-skinned, melanated people. That whenever you see things like this, I think they have like what the movie called King David that just recently came out. It's like the animated film, but they have them with long flowing hair, right? Like King Farquaad from Shrek, right? It's like, no, that's not how they supposed to look. What they're supposed to look like, the people that's depicted in here, the people of Judah. This is specifically the people of Judah. Anybody who's decreeing and declaring that they are Jews, the children of Judah, they should be looking like the people in this relief. And if they do not look like the people in this relief, then they have a problem. But it's funny because, family, in a lot of my videos, I tell people, I was like, yeah, come to this website and make sure you have museum number 124911. And so if you can see, I'm following the same instructions that I tell people that's in my videos. And then I would tell people, I was like, yeah, when you come down to the bottom, you click, and what you do is that you count to, you click on the fourth icon from the left. And as you can see, this is the fourth icon from the left. But let me show you something before we get to that fourth one. So you see how clear this one is, right? That's on your screen. You see how clear that one is on your screen. You can actually show the people there a little bit. Can't really, it's still kind of a little far off. You can't really see them that good. You come over here, this isn't showing the children of Judah. But when you click on the fourth one that I was telling people to click on, let's see what they did to it, family. What is that? You see what they did, family? This is what I'm talking about, how people try to hide the truth. Somebody came in here and blurred out this picture so that you cannot see the texture of the children of Judah. So this was the picture that I was referencing repeatedly in the videos and the lessons and pointing people to confirm with their own eyes that that you can see who the children of Judah are depicted in these reliefs. But amazingly, someone comes and blurs out the picture. I'm telling you, family, they dirty, family. They dirty. But, and of course, people will go and they'll listen to the video, they'll watch the video, and they'll come here and click on that fourth tile, and they'll be like, man, what happened? I can't really see anything. Benaiah is saying that it's clear as day, but it doesn't seem clear as day to me. They dirty, man. They dirty. So I just want to let you know, since we're on this page, family, that, of course, go and take your own pictures. Of course, what I'm going to tell you today is, like, if you click on the next picture over, the next tile over, you can actually see a little bit of it, a little bit of the children of Judah. You can see the hair texture. It's still a little far away. They don't let you zoom in, but it's, as much as you should, but you can still see the hair texture on this one. So if you have time, I would say, family, go ahead and take pictures of this, because what they're doing is that they're coming in here. So this is a good one. This is a good one. This is the sixth one over. So this is what you used to be able to do on that fourth one. So I would say, family, if you whenever you get a chance, go and take a picture of this one, because what they're doing is that they're doing some shady stuff and they're blurring out pictures, trying to erase evidence of who you are. Right. I'm telling you, because these pictures are some of the most powerful pictures when it comes to proving who the children of Judah are and what they look like. All right. So, all right, just wanted to point that out because I came across that. I was like, man, they so dirty. They over here messing with images again. All right. So that's proof positive that, Israel is in that territory. Israel is in the land. And I've even come across people that say, well, you know what, Brother Benaiah, we don't know that that's necessarily the children of Israel, right? But no, yes, we do. Because also in the Lakesh relief, you see this little blurb up here. And this is actually in my book. I have a book out there called Who Are the Biblical Israelites? And I actually show the interpretation of this cuneiform script. So literally they what they did was that they put a little header on there and a little description of what's going on. And it's literally saying, these are the people of the Lakesh. These are the people of Lakesh, right? So there's no ambiguity as to who is being led in captivity before. These are the people of Lakesh. And then the other thing that we have, because not only did the king of Assyria make a recording, a cataloging of the children of Israel in their language. And that's another thing. They're doing this in their language, in their territory. This, what you're seeing here, family, is in Iraq. It was literally in Iraq, and they moved it from Iraq over into over to England, or the British Museum, right? So this was over in the Middle East. And then the other thing too, family, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this. Now this says a tablet, a king and his rations. And you can see here, Armstrong Institute of Biblical Archaeologies. And again, a reason why I'm taking the time here is because a lot of times when we go to the scriptures, I'm trying to change this, family, but I don't take the time to show you that there is proof in archaeology of what I'm talking about. So this is coming from King Nebuchadnezzar. It says, when Babylon's King Nebuchadnezzar went through the kingdom of Judah in 598 BC, he sought to stamp out the Jews' rebellion. And of course, when he does that, you'll see that Jeconiah, which was one of the ones that he took into captivity, Jeconiah, and you go see what happened to Jeconiah. Let me see. I think I got Daniel. We mentioned it in Daniel. In the first year of, let's go back one more. Hang on one second. Let's go back one more. Actually, let's go all the way back to, here we go. Daniel 1:1. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the king gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands with part of his vessels of the house of God, of Yah, which he carried into the land of Shinar, Babylon, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house. And the king spake unto Aphaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain children of Israel and the king's seed of the princes. And of course, in other verses, what you'll find is that it was Jeconiah who was of the king's seed. He was literally the son of Jehoiakim. But he ended up taking Jeconiah into captivity. And as he's taking him into captivity, he's bringing him back to Babylon. This is where we are with archaeology. I just want to show you that there is a record. There's literally a record of him in Babylon. So here you can see, let me see if I can skip ahead a little bit. And it says, Jeconiah had reigned for only three months when Nebuchadnezzar's soldiers besieged Jerusalem. They disposed the evil king and took him along with 10,000 captives back to Babylon, leaving behind only the poorest sort of the people of the land. So it's taking this from 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 14. Jeconiah was in prison in the palace of Babylon, receiving only basic rations. And actually, let me see if I can pull that up here real quick, family. So that's 2 Kings 24:14. Let's do, don't want to lose my place here. We'll come back to Isaiah 64. So we'll do 2 Kings chapter 24. We'll start at 1 and read down. Let's go. Yes, here we go. Carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother and the king's wives and his officers in the mighty land. Carried those he into captivity from Jerusalem. And where is the other one here? According to Jehoiakim. All right, so I'm going to have to pull that one up, but that's not the one I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is the one where Jeconiah was taken into captivity as well. So I'm going to have to pull that one up as well, unless they mention it here. Let's see. It says in 562 BC, nearly 25 years after the fall of Judah to Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar died. His son and successor, evil Merodach, and I'm not even going to try to mess with that name, says, did lift up the head of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, out of prison. Not only did Babylon's king freed him, he raised Jeconiah's status to be above the kings who were with him in Babylon, and appointed a daily ration to be given to him for the rest of his life. It says verses 28 and 30. Verses 28 and 30. So that he's talking about 2 Kings 25. Let's see, 2 Kings 25. And it's saying verse 28 through 30. And he spake, verse 28. Well, I guess we can start at verse 27. And it came to pass in the 7th and the 13th year of captivity, Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, in the 7th and 20th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, did lift up the head of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, out of prison, and he spake kindly to them and set his throne above the throne of kings that were with him in Babylon. And he changed his prison garments, and he did eat bread continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance was a continual allowance given him of the king, a daily rate for every day, all of his life. All right. So that's what they're referencing. And so it says here on we're on the Armstrong Institute of Biblical Archaeology. Not only did the Babylonian king free him, he raised Jehoiakim's status to be above the kings. And we just read that. And it says evil Merodach's reference on various artifacts, including a building's dedication inscription known as the brick inscription B1. Multiple verses from Babylon and Susa, and a paving stone. He is said to have reigned for only 1 year, somewhere between 562 and 560 BC. Now it says the tablets Kodaway found in Babylon are administrative list of food and oil rations delivered to prominent people. These tablets date to the middle to late years of King Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Some correlating right to the end of his life. Jeconiah is referred to on 4. Hear that, family? Jeconiah is referred to on 4 separate tablets, which were today housed in Berlin. Why are they taking this stuff to Berlin, family? Why are they taking proof of the Bible to Berlin? Anyway, but it says the following is a translation of one of the tablets. 10 selah of oil, king of Yehuda. I have another breakdown of this where it actually shows the phonetic way of pronouncing it. Basically, it's like Yehudu. And it says 2 1/2 selah of oil, 5 sons of King Yehuda, 4 selah of 8 men from Yehuda, right? So basically, in these tablets that were in Babylon, they're finding the names of Israelites. They're finding the names of the kings of Israelites. They're finding the names of the princes of Israelites in these tablets. And that's another thing, family. So that's what I'm saying. Like when people say things like there's no proof of the Bible ever occurred, they just made it up. When they say stuff like that, they are lying to you flat out, and they're ignoring all this information that's out there. Because of course, when we look at artifacts like this, these artifacts prove of multiple things. One, they prove the Bible. They prove that the Bible occurred. 2, they prove that the Bible occurred where they said it occurred at, right? Because also in these inscriptions, it also shows what direction that these people came from. It shows where they came from. We also have inscriptions over on the Egyptian side as well. I have to pull that video because I think I already did a video on that. Anyway, but just wanted to show you that it says the above text reveals 2 interesting facts. Jeconiah, Jehoiachim is named with his former title, King of Judah. In Hebrew, it is pronounced as Yehuda. There you go. The use of his title, the King of Judah, shows that although in the foreign country, Jeconiah retained his royal standing. This matches the biblical description of the evil Merodach, giving Jeconiah prominence above the other kings in Babylon. Hallelujah. All right. And then another piece of information, another piece of proof that the Bible is real, and that the stories that we're reading is real. So if you come across anybody that says it's not real, that they just made it up, they're a liar and the truth's not in them. And I'm just showing you that there are literally old artifacts from BC times that have the names of Israelite kings written in them, etched in them. And I'm sure if they could erase it, they probably would have erased it by now. But the fact that it's etched in stone, saved it for posterity. And so this is what you see here is Sennacherib, king of Assyria. So remember, we were looking at the Lachish relief. And I told you that it was King Sennacherib that came up, took the people out of Lachish. He came up to the territory of Judah, took the people out of Lachish, brought some of those prisoners back. He then creates the Lachish relief. Now, family, that's just one piece of evidence that occurred. And that's the one that I usually harp on because that one has a picture associated with it. But what I also want to show you is that there's also other pieces of information, other archaeological evidence that confirms that they were there, that confirms that this event, in fact, did happen. And the other piece of evidence is this thing called the Sennacherib Prism, or the Prism of Sennacherib. You see it there at the top. And so, of course, when Sennacherib comes back, not only did he create that wall relief, that stone etching of Judah, which depicted the whole events of Lachish, the conquering of Lachish, but he also wrote it down. He had them write it down on this prism, which you can see it has writing on all the different sides of it. And, of course, there are other websites. If you go and do your own research, you'll find that there are other websites that kind of break it down. Reason why I grabbed this one was because it does a really good job of showing you the prism right next to the translation. It's just, everything's right there. But they have other translations and web pages dedicated to the Sennacherib prism. So I'm just going to read just a little bit of this just to show you that what this prism literally says about the children of Judah, who they just conquered. So you can see it says, this is 2 Kings 18 through 19, and also Isaiah 36 and 37, which is also represented here. And it says, Sennacherib attacks Hezekiah in 701 BC. Hezekiah's alliance with Tiraka of Egypt. It says, what you read in the book, you find in the ground. So 2 Kings 18, chapter 18, verse 13 through 19, and then 37, and Isaiah 36 and 37. And it reads, and this is the prism. It says, on my third campaign, 701 BC, I marched to the land of Hati. Fear, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It says, fear of my lordly brilliance overwhelmed them. The governors, the nobles, and the people of the city of Ekron, who had thrown Padai, their king, who was bound by the treaty and the oaths of Assyria, into iron fetters, and who had handed him over to Hezekiah. This is Hezekiah of the land of Judah, in a hostile manner. They became frightened on the account of the villainous acts they had committed. They formed a confederation with the kings of Egypt. I approached the city of Ekron, and I killed unalive the governors and nobles who had committed the crimes, and hung their corpses on towers around the city. I counted the citizens who had committed the criminal acts as booty, and I commanded that the rest of them who were not guilty of the crimes of the wrongdoing, whom no penalty was due, be allowed to go free. I brought out Padai, their king, and from the city of Jerusalem placed him on the lordly throne over them. Then I imposed upon him payment in recognition of my overlordship. Moreover, here we go. As for Hezekiah of the land of Judah, who had not submitted to my yoke, I surrounded and conquered 46 of his fortified cities. So this is all those cities in the territory of Judah that he destroyed on his way to Jerusalem. And it says, I surrounded and conquered 46 of his fortified cities. Let's make sure my audio is still good. All right, still good. And let's see here. Get my place. and fortified cities and smaller settlements in their environments, and were without number, by having ramps trodden down and battering rams upon them. The assault of the foot soldiers, sapping, breaching, and siege irons, I brought out of them 200,150 people. Wow. 200,000 people is what he's saying that he brought out. It says young and old, male and female, horses and mules, donkeys, camels, oxen, and sheep and goats, which were without number, and I counted them as booty. And it says, as for him, Hezekiah, I confined him inside the city Jerusalem. Now remember, in the scriptures, Sennacherib he's never able to conquer Jerusalem. That's because Hezekiah goes and pleads to the Most High, and the Most High answers his prayer and says that, of course, he says that the king's not going to be he's not going to set foot in Jerusalem. So the Most High ends up driving him away. But this is what you're getting, is that you're getting the account from Sennacherib's perspective. You're getting the account from the Assyrians' perspective. So he doesn't mention, of course, that the Most High drove him away. He's just saying that, I just caged him up like a bird, and he counts it as a victory. It says, as for him, Hezekiah, fear of my, where does it say that? As for Hezekiah, I confined him inside the city of Jerusalem, his royal city, like a caged bird. That's what I wanted the sentence I wanted to read. It says, I set up blockades against him and made him dread exiting his city gate. I detached him from his land in the cities of his that I had plundered, and gave him to Mentini, the king of the city of Ashdod, Padai, and the king of the city of Ekron, and the king of the city of Gaza, and thereby made his land smaller. And it says, to the former tribute, their annual giving, I added the payment or the gifts in recognition of my overlordship and imposed it upon them. So anyway, family, like I said, I just brought you here just to let you know that there is literally proof of what we're reading. There's archaeological proof when we're talking about the Lakesh relief, when we're talking about, all that stuff with King Sennacherib, as we're going to talk about in Daniel 1, like all this stuff in Daniel 1 that we were reading about Jehoiakim, king of Judah, or Jeconiah, his son, like all this stuff is literally, we have archaeology associated with it. So it's not just some, metaphorical thing that we're talking about. And then I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. Like I said, I didn't want to deviate too much on that, but just wanted to show you that, yes, we have proof of what we're talking about. All right, so let's get back to it, family. So let's pull back or get back to Daniel, and we're going to read chapter 7. So again, Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar has his dream. We've pointed out the different empires that's associated with the statue. So the main takeaway from the book of Daniel are the 4 empires that's represented in Daniel 2. Because what we're going to do, family, is that on each of these chapters that we're going to go through, we're going to build on the previous descriptions of these 4 empires, particularly that 4th empire, that Roman Empire, the Roman Empire that has those 10 toes, right? Those 10 toes, we're going to start to elaborate on them and start to expand on them as far as prophecy, as far as what they mean and who different people are. And for that, we get to Daniel chapter 7. So Daniel chapter 2 is Nebuchadnezzar. He's having a dream. But in Daniel chapter 7, you'll see that Daniel is having a dream. And let's just bear with me just for a second. I'm just trying to take a look at my slide just to make sure that there's nothing in here. You know what? Let me pull up my slide here, because there's another slide. I just want to give you a visual of Daniel chapter 7 before we start reading it. So let's do that. Again, bear with me just for a second. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen. And I'm going to pull this up. We're going to pull up Daniel chapter 7 on the PowerPoint slide. So let's do, that's presenter's view. Don't want to prove that. Let's do presentation view. Here we go. All right. So hopefully you can see that. And this is just I think it's a good depiction of Daniel chapter 7. So what you'll notice is that, so we have the statue of Daniel chapter 2 in the middle. Of course, head of gold, the chest of silver. You got bronze, and then you have iron, right? So we got the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, Greece, and Rome all depicted there. And also what you can see here, family, is a progression of time, which goes from the right to the left. Babylon's first, Persia's next, preceded by the Greece Empire, preceded by Rome. All right. And the thing that you can also see here, family, is a progression, specifically when you go from Persia, a progression from east to west. Persians over in the east, then Greece is a little bit west from Persia, and then Rome is west from Greece. So from east to west, when we look at prophecy, we're going to be going from east to west. And then our next slide. Oops. All right. So now in the book of Daniel, Daniel is going to build on that statue. And instead of describing it as a statue, he's going to describe it as beast. As beast. So let's read about the beast of Daniel. All right. And in particular, what we're going to do, fam, is that we're going to focus in on that fourth beast. Hang on, fam. I'm trying to figure out this mouse over here is acting up. There we go. All right. So I'm going to pull back up Daniel just so that you can see it on the screen. There we go. Daniel chapter 7. All right. So Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream. So this is Daniel having a dream this time. And it says, and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Verse 2, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night and beheld the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. It says, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it. Now, this is, of course, referring to the king of Babylon, of course, boasting that he, basically he's saying that boasting that he's the reason why he got the kingdom. It was all by his hand, by his strength. And the Most High had to humble him and cause him to, crawl around on all fours like an animal, like a beast. And of course, after a while, he caused them to start acting like a man. So this is what this scripture is referred to as the first was like a lion. And it says, in the eagle's wings, this is the first one, and beheld to the wings thereof were plucked up, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon his feet as a man, and the man's heart was given to it. It says, and behold, another beast. So this was the second one. It says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth, and it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So now we're talking about the Persians and the Medes. So the Persians and the Medes are represented by the bear. And of course, you don't have to take my word. Well, the Persians and the Medes are represented by the bear. A little bit further down is going to explain, some of these things in further verses. And it says, and behold, another beast, this is verse 5, a second like a bear. It says it raised itself up on one side and it had 3 ribs in its mouth and it between the teeth. It says, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. It says the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And of course, that is Greece. So of course, when Daniel's having this prophecy, family, one of the things you have to keep in mind that, so this is before the Medo-Persian Empire. This is before the Greece Empire. This is before the Roman Empire all came into power, right? So from his perspective, just kind of put yourself in Daniel's shoes. Like from his perspective, he has no idea, no clue who these people are, who these nations are. But as we look at the scripts, we're looking, we're in the future looking back, so to speak, from Daniel's perspective. And we know that what the Roman Empire did. We know what the Greek Empire did. We know the Medo-Persian Empire did. So we're able to line these up, and this proves and confirm, and we can be a witness to the and testify to the accuracy of the Most High, of His word, of this prophecy, because all this stuff is lining up. And it says, let's see, verse 7, it says, and after this I saw in the visions, in the night visions. I'm sorry, let's start at verse 6. So we're just talking about that third beast, right? And it says, after this I beheld, lo, another beast like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of an owl. It says, the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Verse 7, after this I saw in the night visions, and beheld a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong and exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. Iron. Now notice it was iron teeth. Iron, right? Like the statue. Remember the statue had legs of iron. The statue was made of iron. Rome was represented by iron. This one says, and it had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. Stamp the residue. Now, when it says stamp the residue, it's referring to the children of the Most High. I believe I have a precept for that. Stamp the residue is referring to the children of the Most High. And it says with his feet. So just think about it, family. The uniqueness about this 4th beast that we don't hear mentioned in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd beasts is that this 4th beast, family, is going to have some animosity and is going to have violence against the children of Israel. This 4th beast, which is Rome, is going to have violence. They're going to have war against the children of Israel. They're going to persecute the children of Israel. That is one of the unique traits about this 4th beast that was prophesied by Daniel, that Daniel saw in his dream. In verse 7, it says, after that I saw in the night visions and beheld the 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, and devoured and brake into pieces and stamped the residue with his feet. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Now remember, the statue in Daniel 2 had 10 toes. So again, you can see that even though it's building on the statue in Daniel, but it's giving a different visual when it's talking about the 4th, that 4th empire. So in Daniel, it was that 4th empire that was represented by the iron legs and the feet and the toes. And this one's represented by a 4th beast, right? Which is represented by iron teeth. And now it has 10 horns to match the 10 toes. But again, this one's going to go a little bit further than the description that was given in Daniel 2. Now, here we see that it says, let's see here. After that I saw the visions. After that I saw night visions and beheld a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, and devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with its feet, and was diverse from all the beasts and that were before it, and had 10 horns, just like those 10 toes. Verse 8, and it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now, again, family, so this is where we start to go beyond what we saw in Daniel 2. So now we're starting to get into some of the details of the 10 toes, some of the details of the 10 horns. And again, let me see if I can pull here we go, pull this up. So the 10 horns of this beast that he's seeing, great and terrible, great and dreadful, diverse from the different beasts, has all these different horns. And one of the things that we do know, family, is that 4th beast, the Roman Empire, was divided into 10 empires. It was divided into 10 empires. And it was 3 empires that were replaced or destroyed when this little horn comes up. So a new horn rises up, and it comes up, and it displaces this horns. And this is one of the tribes, one of the empires that was displaced by this horn coming up. It says before the horns were plucked up by the root. And here are the 3 horns that were displaced, that were destroyed. You realize the Vandals and the Ostrogoths. Now, you might be wondering, so what horn came up as these 3 horns were destroyed? Well, the horn that came up is none other than the papacy. The papacy came up and replaced those horns. And this is, one of those things where, a lot of people, there's a continuity or agreement when it comes to these horns. And just to show you, give you a visual here, family. So you see where it says, let's go from left to right. So Rome falls in 476 AD, right? Around that time. And then we have the 10 kingdoms emerge. And then we have those 3 kingdoms uprooted, right? And then we have the rise in the authority of the papacy, right? And then we have the birth of the Holy Roman Empire. So again, fam, I'm telling you, like, when you look at just think about how when people look at the Genesis, the beginning of the modern day church, what do they go back to? They go back to the Council of Nicaea. They'll go back to 325 AD, Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine was a Roman. Come on, family. He was a Roman. And now, just looking at if we just take the statue of Daniel, or even the beast, in mind, in the statue of Daniel, it was the Roman Empire that, the stone that was uncut, Hamashiach was going to destroy. The Roman Empire was not a friend to Hamashiach. It was those 10 toes were going to be the ones that were going to be obliterated when Hamashiach comes back. And to that end, now we have the rise of the modern day church. And where does it come from? It comes from Rome. It comes from Emperor Constantine. That is the genesis of the modern day church. And of course, the early emperors also carried a title of Pontifex Maximus. They called themselves the replacement. They literally called themselves the replacement of Christ. That is the title of the Pope. They were the ones that also changed the Shabbat from Saturday to Sunday. They were the ones that came out with this thing called the Bible is done away with, right? They were the ones that changed all of this. And unfortunately, when Israel was taken into captivity, we were taught by the descendants of Rome. We were just taught by the descendants of the Holy Roman Empire, of the papacy. And this is one of the things that, one of the unfortunate truths of the transatlantic slave trade. If your master was a Baptist, then your slaves were Baptists. If your master was Methodist, then your slaves were Methodists. And of course, we were taught our religion by our masters in the transatlantic slave trade. So again, this was one of those things, family, where when we came up and we woke up to the truth, we had to figure out and understand that, well, wait a minute, there's some things that we need to relearn. Like, take this weekend, for example. There's 2 holy days that you can observe. You can either observe, you have the option of observing Passover, first fruits, unleavened bread, or whenever you observe it, or you can observe Easter. Now, one comes from the Bible. One, you can literally open up your book and find it in the Bible. You can find, the apostles and the Messiah observing it. You saw the Messiahs observing Passover, right? The apostles along with them observing Passover. And then that's on one side of the fence. And then on the other side of the fence, you see, this stuff that comes from Rome, Easter. So as we go out this week, there are people that are making choices to observe the holidays and the feast days of Rome versus the feast days and the holidays of the Most High. Oh, and shout out to Pastor Kelly. Peace and blessings, my brother. Peace and blessings to Pastor Kelly. Thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Peace and blessings. Trying to find your comment so I can put it on the screen. And peace and blessings to Yaakov 713. Thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. And to Michelle, Jezreel. Thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you, family, for your super chat. All right. So just to kind of finish this up, family, as far as this overview of the fall from power. So again, you can see Rome falls, the 10 kingdoms rise, 3 of the kingdoms are uprooted, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, and the Heruli. The papal authority rises, and the Holy Roman Empire is established. The Holy Roman Empire. And the church, family, this is also when we see the transition of all the stuff that you see in the scriptures, where you have the apostles, you have, James, you have the Messiah, you have folks that are leading this movement called the Way, that's literally led by the Israelites. What I tell people is that the head leadership was 100% Israelites. Gentiles weren't leading this thing. This was all Israelites that were leading it. However, what happened was that at some point, Rome started persecuting the Israelites. This occurred when the Israelites, there was another uprising that occurred later on, like in the 300s. I believe it may have been in the one. It was either in the 100s or the 300s. I want to say the 100s now that I think about it. But there was another uprising that occurred after 70 AD. And then, of course, the Roman Emperor at the time then says, you know what? I'm done with these Israelites. They're always troublemakers. We got to get rid of them. He kicks them out of the territory of Judah. He doesn't even let them near Jerusalem. He forbids the Israelites from even coming it was against the law for them to even look at Jerusalem. And he kicks them out. And when he kicks them out, up until that point, the bishop, the head leader of the Israelites, whatever name you want to give them, was always an Israelite. But once they were banned from Jerusalem, the Roman Empire inserts a Roman bishop, a Roman leader of the church. This is when the switch over occurred. And it was at that point that the Gentiles started leading the movement of the Way. It was the Roman Gentiles, of course. And this is, of course, leads into Constantine and all that other stuff. So this is when that switch occurred. And this is when, after that, you start to see that the Sabbath was switched from Saturday to Sunday and things like that. The whole thing about the laws and statutes being done away with. Today, it's a philosophical debate, but back then it was literally life or death. They were literally unaliving people if they found them observing the laws, statutes, and commandments. They were unaliving them. That was the whole thing about the Inquisition. Inquisition was to ferret out anybody that they found that was observing Passover. So the stuff that we're observing today, the Passover commemoration, the unleavened bread commemoration. If you were doing this during the time of the Inquisition, this would get you burnt on church on Sunday morning or on the city square. And all of your possessions were taken and confiscated and given to the church. So the fact that we have the freedom to be able to observe Passover, to observe unleavened bread, to observe, first fruits, you don't realize, family, the persecution that our forefathers had to go through in order for us to be here today, in order for us to be able to observe it. That's the whole thing. And that persecution was done by the church against the Israelites. All right. So just wanted to drive that home, family. And then let me see here. Switch back over to Daniel. Yeah, let's switch back over to Daniel chapter 7. So we're at 1:30. All right. So let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. I know we'll probably pause it here because I definitely don't want to go over 2 hours with this. But let me see if I can get back over at least into Daniel. Let's make some headway into Daniel. So again, Daniel 2 shows us that it shows us the statue with the four empires, right? And of course, we put the emphasis on that fourth empire, which is the Roman Empire. And then, of course, then we come over to Daniel 7, which also focuses on four empires, but instead of using the statue, it uses beast. And then it focuses on that fourth beast. And of course, that fourth beast, which is synonymous with the fourth empire in Daniel 2, in Daniel 7 is going a little bit further. And now we're starting to get some information about how evil and wicked this fourth empire is. And one of the main revelations that we learned about was that this fourth empire was an empire that was persecuting. It said it stamped out the children of Israel. It warred against the children of Israel. And shout out to Pastor Kelly, because Pastor Kelly repeatedly says that it was a war, a worldwide war against the children of Israel. This is what that Roman Empire did. This was what the transatlantic slave trade was. It was a world war against the children of Israel. And so just like according to scriptures, this is what they did, family. And so we're Daniel chapter 7, and actually I can show you this real quick because you can even find this in well, let me stick, because I know, like I said, we're over our time already. Let's do this because we'll save that for our follow-up. All right, so let's find our place again. So here we were talking about that fourth beast. This fourth beast says, after I saw the night visions, this is chapter 7, verse 7. It says, and after this I saw in the night visions and beheld the fourth beast, dreadful and terrible. And let's make sure my microphone's still good. Yeah, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue, the Israelites, with its feet of it. It says it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. This is just 10 horns in chapter 7, but in chapter 2 it was 10 toes, right? 10 toes in chapter 2, 10 horns in chapter 7. And it says, as I considered the horns to be held, there came up among them another little horn, the papacy. So it was the papacy that came up, and what was displaced was 3 of those 10 horns when it came up. And it says, before whom were 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots, and behold, it says, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. So what was unique about this horn that came up, it says its eyes and its mouth. So this papacy is something about its eyes that had eyes like a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now, speaking great things, I guess the precept for that would be, saying things like being able to forgive sins. So saying things that the Most High, that's only given to the Most High. So he's saying that he's the Most High on earth. Like I said, he says the papacy has literally a title, Pontifex Maximus, and has a title called the replacement of Christ. He says that he is the replacement of Christ. He claims that he is God here on earth. He claims that he can forgive men's sins. He claims that he can give people what's called indulgences and allow them to go and conquer lands. He claims that he can give lands, right? But of course, in the scriptures, it was the Most High that gives lands out and assigns lands. But no, the Pope says he can give lands, right? He's the one that told Portugal that you can have Africa. He's the one that told Spain you can have those territories over in the Americas. He told Portugal, you can have Brazil, but Spain gets all the other stuff. He's the one that when the Europeans came over to the New World, oh man, I'm trying to remember the name of that document. It's escaping me for the moment. Oh man, I apologize, family. Now I got to look it up. But it's this document that they had to read. Basically, it was a document that was granted to them from the Pope. And when they pulled up to this island that was full of natives, right, they would literally read to them in their native language, in the language of Latin, or wherever they came from. And of course, the natives don't know anything that they're saying. They just come out, jump off the boat, and they hear these people go blah 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 blah, and they're reading whatever is on this paper. And basically, what the paper says is that, hey, your land is given to us by the authority of the Pope, who is God on earth, who is the replacement. He has the authority. He has given me your land, and if you don't submit to his authority, if you don't submit to his religion, then anything that happens to you, then it's on you. Basically, as far as, you can either be a slave or you can be unalived. And that's how they conquered the new world, right? That's how they conquered the new world. And so this is why we see things where it says like this beast or this horn has eyes like a man, and he speaks great things. He speaks great things. In verse 9, I know what I'm going to do, fam. I'm making the note to do some of these precepts the next time we're able to come together. So I'll put in a note to just review the precepts for the stuff that I'm saying. I apologize for not having that readily available. There's a couple of verses that I didn't have with me. So we'll do the precepts for all this stuff. It says, I beheld, make sure audio's still good. Sorry, okay, audio's still good. I beheld till the thrones were cast down. It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow. Baby. Family. It says, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. The hair of his head was like the pure wool. Now, keep in mind, the Messiah is of the tribe of Judah. And we sure do have a picture of the tribe of Judah in the Lakesh relief. And yes, we can see that the hairs of their head are also like the pure wool. You see these little bumps? That's a depiction of wool, of woolly hair. This is the tribe of Judah. So this is lining up with scripture perfectly. And then it says, let's see here. Where do we leave off? Here we go. It says, I beheld, verse 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Verse 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. Verse 11, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. Now, again, the horn came out of the 10 horns. In other words, the horn came out of Rome. The horn came out of divided Rome from over in Europe. And it's speaking great things. And it says, I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And of course, so this is speaking about the inevitable judgment that is due, that is going to come to this horn, this person that's speaking great words, this papacy. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed. So the body of the beast is destroyed. So not only the 10 toes, but the whole body of the beast is destroyed. It says, it says the body of the beast, and it says, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. And then it says, verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beast, here we go. So this is the rest of the beast. They had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. I saw in the night vision and beheld one like the Son of Man came with the clouds and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Verse 14, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people and nations and languages should serve him. His dominions is an everlasting dominion, and not, it says, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the vision of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the thing. So that's what I like about this chapter in Daniel. Not only do you get the dream, but they also give you the interpretation of it. And it says, the great beasts, this is verse 17. It says, these great beasts, which are four kings, which shall rise out of the earth. Right. So four kings. And of course, if you're a king, you have a kingdom. So four kings or kingdoms, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High, hallelujah, that's us, shall take the kingdom and possess it, and the kingdom forever, even ever and ever. So that is what prophecy, it has to be fulfilled. Verse 19, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. So again, the emphasis is on this fourth beast. It's on this fourth beast, family. It says, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet. Verse 20, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up before whom 3 fell, even of the horn that had eyes and the mouth that spake great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld in the same made war with the saints. That's what Pastor Kelly was talking about, made war with the saints. It was a war that they made with the children of Israel. These descendants of Rome made war with us, family. I beheld the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So they won. They unallowed a lot of our forefathers. We went into captivity. We had to go underneath their yoke. We were persecuted and prosecuted by them, but praise be to the Most High. That wasn't the end. So that was verse 21, where it says, I beheld in the same horn made war against the saints and prevailed. They won. We went into captivity. Verse 22, it says, until the Ancient of Days came. So until the Ancient of Days come, remember, or came, it says, look up, for your redemption draws nigh. So when we see all these things start coming to pass, this is when our redemption comes near. This is when our redemption comes, families, when we see when we see Yahuwah comes. And it says, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And it says, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Hallelujah. Let me read that again. Until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Hallelujah. And it says, verse 23, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth. It says, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth. You get that, family? This fourth kingdom is a world dominating kingdom. This world kingdom is not just a local kingdom like Babylon, like Assyria, like Greece. This fourth kingdom is going to be all over the globe. You see that, family? It says shall devour, is going to conquer the whole earth, shall tread it down and break it into pieces. I mean, that should give you an idea of who this beast is, right? And it says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings. And that's another thing to keep in mind too, family. There are going to be some things that are kingdoms that are going to arise out of this beast. But at the end of the day, it's still the same beast. There might be a different king in charge, but it's still the same beast. It's just a different manifestation of the same beast at a different time in a different place. Just want to put that out there. And it says, let's see, where do we leave? Thus the fourth beast come to the earth, and shall be diverse, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down upon it and break it into pieces. Verse 24, and the 10 horns out of the kingdoms are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great things against the Most High. So the words that he's speaking are against the Most High. and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. So he's doing double duty, speaking against the Most High, wearing out his people, making war against his people, and to change times and laws. This is what we were talking about, how the papacy thought to change the Shabbat of the Most High from Saturday to Sunday. You know, the commandment of keeping the Shabbat is both a time, it's a law, right? It's a law that talks about a time, the Sabbath. So we have this papacy, you know, he's checking the boxes. According to them, they changed it, but you can't change what the Most High has decreed and declared. But he thought to change times and laws, and it says, and they shall be given into his hand. Now we're starting to get somewhere, family. It says, and they shall be given into his hand until the time, in times, in dividing of times. Times is a year. Times is 2 years. Dividing of times is a half a year. So 3.5 years. And then we're going to have to break that down into days, because prophecy is given into days. And I think we're going to save that for the next time. I believe it's 1,260 days is what it breaks down to. And of course, days in prophecy is equivalent to a year. So it's 1,260 years is what we're going to get into the next time, Most High willing. But let me just read that again. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, which he did, which he thought he did, but he didn't. When it says, and they shall be given into his hand. So literally the children of Israel were given unto the hands of this beast from Rome that came up out, out of that 3. And it says, into his hand until a time and times, in dividing of times, 1,260 days. And in prophecy, days is a year, so years. And it says, verse 26, it says, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall be taken away. And they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is everlasting, is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey them. What? Obey them, serve them? No. There's no such thing as that. There's no such thing. Everything's equal. Even though you guys served as slaves, there's no recompense for that. Everything's been forgiven. There's water up under the bridge. There's no such thing. Well, we are reading prophecy, and we also know that what was the last will be. Let's talk about the last will be first and the first will be last. That sort of thing. So we know that there's a switch in position that's going to occur in the last days. But what you're seeing here, family, is that there's going to be, I guess, a hierarchy in the last days. In the kingdom, it says, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness. Now we're verse 27, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Shall serve and obey him. Hereto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed me. But I kept the matter in my heart. Hallelujah. All right. So like I said, family, we will, Most High want to come back and go through some of the precepts for this. This is kind of like just a reading to get through it. But definitely, Most High willing, family, we will come back and go through the precepts for this one, because there are a lot of precepts in this one. And definitely, if we were to go through those precepts, we would be here all night. So all right. So hey, family, as you can tell, family, like this thing, family, the further we read into this, you're going to see the role that the Roman Church plays, that they played, that they are, represented in these beasts that we see here. And then what we're also going to see, because once we jump over to Revelations, we're going to see another, retelling of these beasts, but we're also going to see a little bit more about this fourth beast. A little bit more is going to be revealed about the fourth beast as to the other entity that's going to come out, from this Holy Roman Empire. There's also going to be an entity that's going to be associated with it, a nation that's going to come in the end times as well, that we all know very well. So I'll just put it to you that way. We'll go over it, and we'll just we'll let the scripture speak, family. But these prophecies have to come to pass, family. You know what I mean? Like, I know sometimes we feel a certain way, and of course we were taught coming up in the Christian church that, of course they called him Jesus, and they say when Jesus comes back, he's going to love everybody and give man hugs and high fives. He's not going to be mad at nobody. All the dirty, wicked stuff that you did in these times your forefathers did, you don't have to worry about it. There's no recompense, no recompense for that. It's all water on the bridge. But that's not what these scriptures are saying. These scriptures are saying that there's going to be a recompense for that there's going to be a flipping or a changing of the guard. What's going to be at the bottom is going to be the top, because that's what we saw especially over in Spain and Portugal. You had these people that were up the upper echelon of society. They were the nobles, they were the princes, they were the head statesmen. But then once the curses kicked in and the Inquisition kicked in and the slavery kicked in, these princes were then made the lowest of the lows. They were made slaves. And what's going to happen is that they are going to be restored back to their places. They are going to be restored back to what we see in Deuteronomy 28. I guess if you could just indulge me just for a second, fam, I'm just going to read Deuteronomy 28, and we're just going to read the blessings real quick. And another thank you for your super chats. Thank you, Ema Horton. Peace and blessings, my sister. Or Shabbat Shalom if you're observing your feast days. Shabbat Shalom, Sunny Lion. Thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you. Blessed Child of Yah. Thank you for your super chat. And Messiah, thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you. And of course, thank you for my cousin, Pastor Kelly. We Woke Now. Definitely family, go and check out his channel as well. We Woke Now. If you're not subscribed, go and see if you can subscribe. I know YouTube is always doing their funny stuff, unsubscribing people. So definitely check to make sure you're subscribed, family, and make sure your notifications are turned on, because YouTube they were unsubscribing people and also turning their notifications off. But hey, praise be to the Most High. This the message is getting out regardless of what they do. And thank you, Brother Andrew, for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you. Kwam Yasharala, thank you for your super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. And again, I'm going to just pull up Deuteronomy 28 just to kind of end on that one, family. So I'm just going to share my screen here and let you go back to observing your feast days, eating good, looking good. Let's see, where did I do with, Daniel, here it is. All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy, and we'll do Deuteronomy 28. And again, this is just speaking to, what's supposed to happen, like when the blessing returns to Israel, because in the end times, that the curses that are on Israel are going to be placed onto the enemies of Israel. Like they're going to be the ones that those curses are going to follow. And it's one of those things, family, because what I've learned was that, especially when looking through this history, because the curses were on us, it was almost like a dark cloud followed us around, and wherever we went, those curses kicked off. And if we were among the people, they experienced the curses, because you've heard of the things like the Black Plague, right? So when the Black Plague kicked off, the Black Plague infected both the Israelites and the folks that was around them. So of course, but the Black Plague was there because the Israelites were there, and the Black Plague decimated the Gentiles because the Israelites were among the Gentiles. So that was part of the reason why the Gentiles was like, hey, y'all gotta go. Y'all can't be around us with that dark cloud following you. No, sir, no, ma'am. So to a certain extent, you can kind of understand why they kicked us out, right? But the same thing, fam, I'm telling you, the same thing. I had a dream about this. The same thing is going to apply when these curses switch. When that dark cloud moves from Israel and goes over to the Gentiles, and then wherever they go, those boils and those plagues and stuff, it's going to follow them. The last thing, as you, Israel, who just had that cloud lifted up off you, the last thing you're going to want is for anybody that has that cloud to be around you. I'm telling you, people, we're not going to have to tell you that, hey, you might not want to be hanging out with that person, because you're going to be like, after catching some strays from the curses that's around the Gentiles, you can be like, hey, why don't y'all go over there? If you notice, what was it in Joel 3, where it talked about, I'm going to sell your sons and your daughters to the children of Judah. Then it says the children of Judah are going to sell them, to the Sabaeans, to a people far off. We're not going to want that dark cloud. No, sir, no, ma'am. All right. Oh, thank you. Oh, we got, okay. Well, hey, Sabaeans, you want some people? Come and get them. And it's fun. I don't want to joke about it, but just to put it out there, that as you kind of wonder why, especially over here in the States, why they are so dogmatic about, well, not dogmatic, but more, how can I put it? When it comes to Muslims and Arabs, they talk about them so bad here, family, over in the States, or I guess over abroad, right? They depict them as, the worst of the worst of the worst. But family, if they are the Saracens, maybe the reason why you feel some sort of way about it is because, you might be spending some time with them. I'm just saying, you might be spending some time with them. But anyway, let me get back on track and stick to the scriptures. All right, so Deuteronomy 28, just talk about the blessing. So the curses are going to leave Israel, go over to our enemies. The blessings are going to be restored. So let's read about the blessings before we leave. So Deuteronomy 28, verse 1, let's read down. It says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahuwah thy Elohim will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. And all these things shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. Verse 4, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket, and thy storehouse. Blessed shall be when thou comest in. Blessed shall be that when thou goest out. Verse 7, Yahuwah shall cause your enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against thee one way, and shall flee from before you 7 ways. Yahuwah shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all thou settest thine hand unto. He shall bless thee in the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee. Yahuwah shall establish thee an holy people of himself, as he has sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Most High Yahuwah and walk in his ways. Hallelujah. So again, it's saying, if you walk in his ways, you shall be blessed. But I know, and we're supposed to end on that. I apologize, fam, but I can just hear it. I can just hear somebody out there saying, but Benaiah, we don't have to do the law no more. The law's done away with. All that's done away with. All right, just for the benefit of those that are saying that in these last times, in these end times, let's just read the last book of the Bible, Revelations, chapter 22. This is after the death and resurrection of the Most High, death and resurrection of Hamashiach, Hamashiach, the Messiah. And let's see what's supposed to be done in these last days. So after people say that the law, statutes, and commandments are done away with, let's see what's supposed to happen. And let's start at verse 12. And it says, and behold, well, actually, let me just read this. Just a couple of verses at the top, just so that you understand the perspective. It says, Revelation chapter 22, verse 1 says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Yahuwah and of the Lamb. Of the Lamb. Remember, we had Passover in the Lamb. For those that have had Passover or have Passover to come, you're going to be eating some lamb, right? And just one more verse here. It says, in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was there a tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruit and yield her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of nations, right? I guess I'll read verse 3, and it says, and there shall be no more curse. There shall be no more curse, fam. That's why we're reading about the Deuteronomy blessings, because there's not going to be any more curse. But the throne of Yahuwah and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. We're going to be serving the Lamb. And it says, jump down to verse 12. Because remember, when I read verse 12, like I said, I was just hearing somebody say, but man, you don't have to do that law stuff. The commandments were done away with. All we got to do is believe. This is why we can do Christmas and Easter. This is why we can hunt Easter eggs this weekend. Let's read about it. It says, verse 12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according to his work. So this is future. This is the return of the Messiah. I am the Alpha and the Omega, or I am the Aleph and the Tav. And it says, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments. Why? That they may have the right, or that they may have right to the tree of life that we read about in the first couple of verses, right? And may enter in through the gate into the city. This is why you have to keep the commandments. Let me read that again, because I talked over it a little bit. Verse 14, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates of the city. Now he's going to talk about who's in the city, who's out the city. This is why I tell people, it's like, this is the easy button when it comes to observing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Of course, some of those commandments, you don't have to keep all of them, because some of them were stipulated to only be done in the land. So when people come to you and say, oh, you got to do like 600 and something. No, you don't. Some were stipulated for only in the land. Some were done away with. Some were done away with Hamashiach. And some are for the priests. Some are for the men, different. In other words, some of the laws were specific for certain people, right? So when people try to, say things like, oh, it's 600 something laws you got to adhere to, they're kind of blowing that out of proportion. Anyway. But let me read 14. Let's get you out of here, family, on this. It says, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates of the city. So again, we were talking about, so who's in the city? Let's talk about who's in the city, who's out the city. It says, for without, so we're talking about who's outside the city, are dogs, sorcerers, whoremongers, murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. In other words, a bunch of lawbreakers. And then in verse 16, just in case you're wondering who this is, it says, and I, Yahusha, have sent my angels to testify unto you these things in the churches. So you should be teaching this in your assemblies, in your churches. So shame on you, Sunday morning goers, if you're teaching against what was just spoken of in verses 12, 13, 14, and 15. Why? Because if you are a purported follower of the Messiah, he said in 16, I have testified, I, Yahushua, have sent my angels to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and the morning star. And the spirit and the bride say, come. Let him that heareth say, come. And let him that is the authoress come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto the things, Yahuwah shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Yahuwah shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city from the things which are written in this book. Remember, there's people are going around saying, yeah, you don't have to do the law. I know it's written in the book, but you don't have to do it no more. Be careful. Be very careful. That penalty is very high. Verse 19, and if any man shall take away from the words of this book, if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Yahuwah shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the things which are written in this book. He which testifies these things saith, surely I come quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Yahuwah Yahusha. The grace of our Elohim, Yahusha, Hamashiach, be with you all. Amen. All right. So with that being said, peace and blessings unto you all. Enjoy the rest of your feast. Love you, family. Thanks for hanging in there with me, family. And I can't believe I actually went over 2 hours. I didn't want to do that, but hey, I had to do some of those scriptures. But yeah, peace and blessings to you. Enjoy your feast days. Enjoy your family and friends, and get some rest. And look out for some more lives. I'm not sure if they're going to be any more lives today, but just look out for them. And talk to you later, family. And we'll come back and do, like I said, do the precept for Daniel 7, and then get into Revelations 13 and then 18. Hallelujah. All right. Love you, family, and shalom.
When you see these signs, you better look up. When you see these signs, you better look up. Yeah, I've been walking through the fire, clothes smell like doubt. Seen the waves over my head, still I never drown. Mama praying in the kitchen, tears on the tile. Say the world getting darker, but that's been for a while. Scroll for the rumors, every headline was. Everybody got a platform, nobody sure. I've been hearing in my spirit, boy, your time close. Got my eyes past the clouds, I don't ride low. Used to chase change, now I chase change. Used to pop pain, now I drop shame. I was stuck, I was broke in my own mind. Then he said, watch close when I show signs.
When you see these signs, look up.
Your redemption's getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky.
Don't fall.
Yeah, we made for the storm.
Stand bold. When you see these signs, look up.
Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt. No fear when you see these signs. Know your redemption here. Yeah, I remember late nights, eyes red, no sleep. Heart heavy like the rent, pain 7 feet deep. Homies lost on the corner, stuck in the loop. I was one bad choice from the same root. Then I heard that still voice in the backlash. Son, I paid that price, that's past tense. Every time I slip, Grace said stand up. Every time I trip, he still manned up. See the storms getting closer, I don't panic though. Cause the hands on my life set the tempo. Prophecies playing out, I ain't surprised. I just tighten up my walk, keep my lamp high.
When you see these signs, look up.
Your redemption getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky.
Don't fall.
Yeah, we made for the storm. Stand bold.
When you see these signs, look up.
Every tear, every scar, that's love. He gon' pull you out the dirt. No fear when you see these signs. Know your redemption here. I've been down bad, he was still that close. I was off track, he was still that road. I was lost, but I never left his sight. Every sign's just a signal in the night. Hands up high when the sky turn red. Even if I'm hanging on by a thread, I know who gon' catch me if I drop. So when I see the signs, I look up, not to stop.
These signs, look up.
Your redemption's getting near. Don't run, keep your head to the sky.
Don't fall.
Yeah, we made for the storm.
Stand bold. When you see these signs,
love. He gon' pull you out the dirt. No fear when you see these signs. Know your redemption here.